We set it off, now it's going up.
You ready?
We have to be strong and persistent when we're going at them.
That's your job. Be there.
Come on!
Leveling up, call who you want, they ain't messing with us.
We gotta own it.
Hey, that's what I want to see, baby. Ah!
Come on now.
Step in the spot and they know it's a squad around me and they make me feel glorious.
I'll see you in the playoffs.
We are so excited for more WNBA playoff action. Mohegan Sun Arena, where people love to cash out. The Connecticut Sun looking to cash out of round one and get to the semis. Their big three, Alyssa Thomas, DeWanna Bonner, and reigning MVP Jonquel Jones, taking on the Dallas Wings. And we are here to lead you up to all of it. Welcome into WNBA Hoop Streams. I am Andraya Carter, your host, and with me, the absolute legend, former head coach, former GM, national championship winning coach. The list goes on and on. Carolyn Peck. Carolyn, we had excellent games yesterday. More excitement today. What excites you the most about our matchups?
You could kind of predict yesterday of what was going to happen. You had the top two teams you expected to show up big, especially in that second game. Today, not so fast. You know, it's going to be interesting to see a young Dallas team. How do they bounce back against Connecticut in that 4-5 matchup later on? Washington and Seattle. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. Listen, go ahead and pencil that in on your calendars. Just stay locked in for your Sunday. Before we get into the matchups a little bit further, let's take a look at where everyone stands coming into today. Yesterday, Liberty took on the Sky. Mercury took on the Aces. It was the second game in the first round. The Sky dominated the Liberty in Chicago, winning 100-62, tying the series up at a game apiece. So that'll go to game 3. And another dominating performance by the Aces against the Mercury. They closed out the series with a 117-80 win in Vegas. Carolyn, I want to start with Vegas because they closed out their series. No game 3. Vegas shut the whole thing down. Vegas was very dominant against Phoenix, and Phoenix has gone through so much. But is Vegas, in your mind, the clear favorite right now?
Well, I think that they are because of the balance and the way that they can score and the rate at which they can score. Here's my concern. Can they defend consistently? There have been times where, even against Phoenix, Phoenix was able to get what they wanted offensively. For the Las Vegas Aces to advance through the semifinals and get to the finals, they are going to have to be consistent defensively, night in and night out, specifically on ball screen action. Are they going to allow the ball to come in the middle of the floor? That cannot happen, and they cannot allow second chance opportunities. They got to be dominant on the glass.
And they were so dominant on the offensive side, and Becky Hammon still fired up about exactly what you said, their defensive performance. But when you look at this team through a coaching lens and through a GM lens, their depth, they don't play that many people. Could you see that being an issue, or how do they combat that in these playoff series?
I think early in the season, depth was an issue, but as of late, Raquana Williams and Ileana Repair have come in and given terrific minutes for the Las Vegas Aces. Kia Stokes had to move into the starting lineup because De'Erica Hamby's out with a knee injury. But when you look at what Raquana Williams can bring to the floor, and it's not just offensive. Bay, yes, she's a bucket and shooting a three, but she was a defending lockdown player for Bill Lambier last year. And then Ileana Repair, she's from France, and Becky Hammon told her going into the playoffs, I need some French nasty. Well, French nasty has shown up from Repair.
The French nasty has been phenomenal. And you know who else has been phenomenal? One of your favorite players, I believe, just from spending time with you, and that is the point guard, Chelsea Gray. For those that don't know and those that haven't seen Chelsea Gray play the game, how would you describe the way she affects the game on the court?
She is a magician because she can magically really make some connections, make some things happen. And I talked to her about that, how she delivers some of her passes, and she said it's almost like she's got a photographic memory. If I see something in one play, I'll remember it and come back and be able to deliver there. But the thing that's been most impressive about Chelsea Gray since the All-Star break, remember she got snubbed. She didn't get picked.
I didn't have a vote.
I poked the bear because she has played with something to prove. And specifically in the month of August, she has averaged over 20 points a game. She is shooting over 56 40% from the floor, over 46% from three. The point guard is really doing a little bit of everything. And for the Aces to continue to advance, other players can have an off night. Right. Chelsea Gray cannot.
Yeah, Asia Wilson struggled in game one, and they still had success. We've seen Jackie Young have an injury and come back. We've seen other players be up and down, and Chelsea Gray has been incredible. When you look at the other teams in the field, who do you see being the biggest challenge to the Aces moving forward?
Well, you look at the Connecticut Sun.
Okay.
Because Connecticut has a tough defensive lineup. They got a big front court. I think Dewana Bonner is a huge matchup problem. And the winner of Washington and Seattle. Yeah. Now, in the regular season, the Aces were 3-1 against Seattle, but the Washington Mystics swept the Aces. Yeah. So that, I know that the Aces are biting at the bit, want another shot at Washington, but it's not going to be any easy trip for the Aces to advance.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we talk about one team that you didn't mention that's now going to game 3 is the Chicago Sky. They face the Aces in the Commissioner's Cup. That could be a matchup that everyone is looking forward to, potentially, but those other ones that you mentioned are phenomenal. When we look at the Chicago Sky, they're going to game 3. Mm-hmm. They were upset by New York. Sabrina Ionescu and company, Benijah Laney pulled off an upset in game 1. Stellar performance. But Chicago bounced back and swung every single punch. How did the Chicago Sky turn around their performance from game 1 to dominate game 2?
Well, I think that there was probably a message delivered from Candace Parker and Courtney Vandersloot, the leaders of this Chicago Sky team. Look, they have a refuse to lose mentality, and when the back's against the wall, that's when Candace Parker is at her best. Offensively, I think the Chicago Sky are okay. They're going to be fine there. It's the defensive intensity that was so impressive in game 2, how they really were able to defend ball screens. They were able to be connected and take care of each other. The 2 in the screens, they were aggressive. The 3 that were rotating out were on a scramble, and it was like they were on a rope. If they stay with that defensive intensity, the Chicago Sky are going to be a lot to handle.
Yeah, it was incredible how everybody sold out to the defensive rotations and made things so tough on New York. I want to talk about Kahlia Copper because it was said she possibly tweaked her ankle in Friday's practice. That ankle looked like it was made of steel. What type of impact does Copper make for Chicago?
I think how Copper has played through injuries. She's had injuries before, and let me tell you, it does not affect KFC. But let me tell you, Kahlia freaking Copper, yeah, I said it, this is her time. This is where she turns up. This is the reason she was the MVP of the finals last year. Look, when you dangle that carrot, she's got that championship to play for. She takes her game up another level, and she's a big guard. I got on the elevator with her when they were in Vegas, and I'm 6'4", and she was about 6'2". She is long and lengthy and has that power to get downhill, and when you've got to give her that step, then she has the ability to knock down the 3. And talk about a defender, what she did on Sabrina Ionescu in game 2 when she brings her defense along with it, Copper is something else.
Well, you talk about defense, right? And I'm looking at the bench, coming off the bench for Chicago, Rebecca Gardner and Azurá Stevens. How impactful can those two be within their roles if Chicago wants to make a run?
Well, you don't get a break offensively when you take Kahlia Copper off the floor and in comes Rebecca Gardner, because Gardner, I don't know what she eats for breakfast, but she does not stop. She's got incredible energy. And the other thing is, she is one of these players that makes the right plays at the right time. And you can't say, well, it's just on offense, because it's on defense as well. She'll get a big steal. She'll get a really crucial rebound. And then on the other end, she'll run in transition. She'll hit the mid-range, or she'll knock down that 3 when she needs it. And then Azurá Stevens, the length that Chicago can continue to go to when she comes into the game, and she's shooting the ball at a high clip, specifically at the 3-point line. So having that versatility and size is key for Chicago.
We talked a lot about Chicago, as we should, the reigning champions from last season. But quickly here, I want to touch on, what does New York have to do? If they want to take game 3 at home, what has to happen for the Liberty?
Well, they've got to handle the pressure, and they've got to understand that Chicago is going to bring an aggressive man-to-man mentality with pressure. How do you beat pressure? with pressure. So what do you have to do? The ball has got to move, but the bodies have got to move. You've got to look for backdoor cuts. You've got to use some back screens, screening action. Make Chicago make some decisions of, are they going to switch? Are they going to stay? And if anybody gets hung up, then New York's got to read that, attack the rim, and make Chicago get on their heels so you can open up those three-point shots that have gotten them this far.
Absolutely. Incredible analysis always by you, Carolyn. We are getting you ready for the second set of Game 2's top of the hour. Connecticut taking on Dallas, trying to close out the series. And then later today, Sue Bird, one of the greatest point guards of all time, who will be retiring after this season. Her Seattle Storm taking on the Washington Mystics. That's at 4 Eastern. That's Sue Bird's home court.
Play tough, okay? We're missing a little bit of a pep, all right? A little bit of a in our step. Let's pick it right back up right now. Ooh. No! She didn't have it! She had my arm. You had my arm. You had my arm. I had the ball. I had the ball. I had the ball. And then you found me. No, you found me. Grab my arm. No way. We're good. This is not going well. Fist two, it's regular fist two. You don't have to draw it. I come off. You screen for Jewell. Jewell, you come up. Ezzy, you're in that. After I pass, you're here, right? Yeah! Let's go! Good job.
And now we welcome in the third member of our Curly Girl Committee this morning, Ros Gold-Onwude. She will be on site for the Seattle-Washington game. That is at 4 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. Ros, thanks for getting up with us. It's early on the West Coast.
Yeah, but good thing I'm in Seattle because there's a whole lot of coffee.
Coffee is always a good thing. And speaking of this game, you know, Breanna Stewart and Delle kind of canceled each other out in game one. And it was Jewell Loyd who stepped up in the fourth quarter and knocked down some big buckets. How did Jewell Loyd have the confidence to make that run in the fourth quarter?
Well, Jewell Loyd is going up against one of the top perimeter units in the WNBA, in Natasha Cloud, Ariel Atkins, and Alicia Clark, and they used physicality against her. Through the first 3 quarters, she hadn't made a single field goal, but that whole fourth quarter, she utilized a toolkit that she has, which is positive visualization, breath work, and positive self-talk. And she told me in the timeout, she closed her eyes, she focused on her breath, and she told herself, I am loved. I'm a champion. I've been in this situation before. And she visualized herself being relaxed and having joy and playing free and stepping up, and reminded herself that she loved the game. And that helped her really step up huge for her team.
Ros, I'm going to have to use some of that mental training as I sit here with Andraya Carter. But I want to go to the Washington Mystics. Natasha Cloud, who has led the WNBA in assists, 7 a game. She only had 1 against Seattle and had a crucial turnover. And she guaranteed in the press conference afterwards that she was going to take this to a game 3. How's she going to do that?
You know, Natasha Cloud is the heart of this Mystics team. You know, she speaks up. She understands that she must bring her own energy. She even told me coming into this series that the team, the Mystics, feel if they're able to get past the Storm, they feel they're going all the way. So this was very much like the key matchup for them in this playoff run. The guards set the tone for the Mystics, again, with their defense first, their physicality that they put on players, you know, like a Jewell Loyd. They also know they want to slow down the Storm. So they want to keep them in the half-court set. So that defense, they're the first line of defense against the Storm. And again, on offense, they've got to be making sure they take care of the ball. So the guards have to be the ones who are being smart, because those turnovers that they did give up allowed the Storm to get out and manufacture the tempo that they want to play at. And the defensive assignment is tough. I spoke with Natasha Cloud about it yesterday at practice, and she said, look, through 3 quarters, you know, we were making it very tough on Jewell Loyd. But that fourth quarter, we need to stay locked in, because Jewell Loyd finding some new life, that saved the game for them. And then the game was so evenly matched. It's the little things that ended up making a difference down the stretch. And this is not just on the guards or just on Natasha Cloud, it's on everybody. But you think about something like the offensive rebound that Tina Charles got. The team's got to box out. So a lot of that, the energy, the responsibility to set the tone and get it started defensively as the first line of defense and then offensively run the show, that starts with Natasha Cloud, and she's willing to wear that responsibility on her shoulders, take it on, take the blame. And you know what? If I'm a teammate, I like that in my point guard stepping up for us.
Absolutely, Ros. And, you talked about what Washington has to do and what Natasha Cloud has to do, putting the team on her shoulders. What's the talk with Seattle? They know Washington is going to make a push. What's the Storm focusing on for Game 2?
Well, I just spoke with Stewie yesterday, and one thing about Breanna Stewart, she really enjoys watching video, and she calls herself a student of the game on top of being one of the most elite players in the league. And she requested, and of course they were sending her packages of video clips of going up against Elena Delle Donne. And as it came down the stretch, Elena Delle Donne was going crazy. And we had a fantastic game of the superstars stepping up and bringing it. And literally she said she was watching one, where does she catch it? They want to keep her from being able to go to her left hand where she's really capable. They watched video clips on when do they send that double? When do they need to be, aggressive versus when do they leave her one-on-one? And then refocusing on mindset, understanding that she's incredible, she's going to score, and not letting it take you out of the game. But, that's a matchup we highlighted right at the top of the broadcast with Elena Delle Donne and Breanna Stewart. And you say you cancel each other out. They both put similar pressure on the other team in that they're so versatile, and they both delivered. But down the stretch, we had a nice matchup of it was Stewie defending Elena Delle Donne, and EDD was going right at her. So those were the adjustments she watched on film.
Elena Delle Donne is versatile. Breanna Stewart is versatile. Ros, you are oh so versatile. Enjoy that amazing crowd in Seattle. We look forward to the matchup.
Sounds good.
Now it's time for There's More to the Game, brought to you by Google, where we take a look at questions and topics that fans have searched for in the WNBA lately around the game. And search interest in the WNBA is currently at an all-time high in the U.S. This does not surprise us because it's been a record year for the league in general, most notably when we are talking about triple doubles. There have been 6 triple doubles this season. It's the first time there have been multiple triple doubles in a single season in league history. There have been 9 triple doubles over the last 6 seasons and only 6 through the first 20 seasons in the league. So this season, absolutely historical. You see Candace Parker, Sabrina Ionescu, Mariah Jefferson, Alyssa Thomas, all logging triple doubles this season. Just remarkable. And we bring in Carolyn, Peck. And Carolyn, listen, you were a head coach and a GM in the WNBA. How have you seen the game and the way that it's played in this league? How have you seen it evolve?
Back in the early 2000s, you had 2 or 3 players that were stars that could put up big numbers. But now with the condensation of talent, that is the saturation of the talent that is on each team, well, it spreads the floor. So defense is really hard because you can't rotate off of a Sabrina Ionescu and not expect for a Maureen Johannes or a Sammy Whitcomb not to knock down shots. They're 4 assists, right? So when you have so much talent on the floor, I mean, it's really entertaining. I was talking to Becky Hammond, who coached in the NBA, and she said, you look at the number of teams that you have in the NBA, you cut that in half. And then take the best players off those teams that you've eliminated and put them all on one team. That's what you have in the WNBA, having only 12 teams right now.
Yeah, it's so impressive, the talent and the way that everybody plays together and the way that those stars facilitate but also look to get their own shots. How difficult is it to look for yourself but also know where your teammates are around you and know what their strengths are? Because I don't think people understand how hard it is to get a triple-double.
Well, I think that teams and players nowadays, they're not out there trying to get theirs. They're trying to win championships, and there's a balanced mentality across the league. And so when you sacrifice self for that bigger championship, your accolades, those will come. If you're good at what you do, people will recognize it. But when teams and players are really going after championships, that's where you see, because you have so many stars on each team, not just on one team. I remember back when it started, it was the Houston Comets. You know, you've got Cheryl Swoops, Tina Thompson, Cynthia Cooper, getting it done, and they were going to dominate. Now you got those kind of players on every team.
Absolutely. Skill set, but unselfish, all of that fueling the league. And that's going to move us to what we talk about next, which is time for Fuel Tomorrow, presented by Gatorade, where we take a closer look at the recently named 2022 Peak Performers of the WNBA. We will first start with the retiring Sylvia Fowles, who is also recently named the recipient of the 2022 Kim Perrott Sportsmanship Award. Fowles is finishing her 15-year career this season as the league's all-time rebounder and career leader in field goal percentage. She averaged 14.4 points and 9.8 rebounds this season for the Lynx. Next, we have Breanna Stewart, who is the WNBA scoring leader for the first time in her career with 21.8 points per game. This season, Stewart became the fastest player to reach 3,500 career points and 1,500 career rebounds, all within 174 games. And finally, we have Natasha Cloud, who we will be seeing later on today against the Storm. Cloud is the WNBA assists leader for the first time with 7 assists per game. Not 5, not 6, 7. She collected at least 5 assists in 29 of her 34 games this season alone. You know she will try to get back to dropping dimes against the Storm later today. Another big peak performer, DeWanna Bonner, had 12 points against the Dallas Wings in Game 1. Her big three, along with Jonquel Jones, Alyssa Thomas, and company, Courtney Williams, Natisha Heidemann, Odyssey Sims. The list goes on and on. Connecticut Sun trying to close out the series. Again, that is 12 Eastern, coming up right at the top of the hour. First round, Game 2 on ABC. Will the Dallas Wings be able to bounce back against the Connecticut Sun?
Here, Jones will lay it home.
We know all we need is one. It's hard to beat us on our home court.
I think it's very important to go back to even how important these wins are. Ty Harris gets the bucket.
We're hungry and we're ready. We share the ball so much that you can't just key in on one player.
Gets it to drop in.
And now we welcome in the one and only Holly Rowe, joining us from right down the street at Mohegan Sun Arena. Holly, how you doing? Thanks for joining us.
So great. It's the playoffs and it's exciting. I'm just happy to be here.
And Holly, let's talk about Dallas first. They lost to the Connecticut Sun by 25, looked a little bit disjointed. What's the pulse on this team? What's their mindset going into Game 2?
Well, I think Vicki Johnson had some interesting comments in their post-game press conference where she said, that is a team I didn't recognize out there tonight. And they didn't play like themselves. They know that they can be better, particularly in moving the ball, sharing the ball, playing together. And they have really built their success this season on defense. Vicki Johnson was a terrific defensive player herself. And so I know that that has got to be their focus, is better defense. It is difficult, though, because the Connecticut Sun are a tough matchup for them. But I'm sitting here watching the bigs warm up behind me, and I'm like, they have so many bigs. Dallas has so much size and physicality inside, and I'm like, that's what they've got to impose. Tierra McCown has to impose her will and make it difficult for the Connecticut Sun to guard her today.
And Holly, with all the experience that Connecticut has, and Vicki Johnson has such a young, inexperienced team, you talked about Tierra McCowan. This is a new experience for her. In that environment, how does she settle this young group down to really handle the environment and take this to a Game 3?
Yeah, it's interesting. Tiara McCowan is new to this team. She just came over in a trade midseason from the Indiana Fever. She is now playing in her second ever WNBA playoff game. So it is a lot to take in. But I'll say this, she was in the Final Four. She was in the national championship game 2 years. Tiara has played on big stages before. And as I watch her warm up behind me, the smile is big. The energy is good. And I think that she can absolutely dominate. You saw Connecticut try to double her, really fluster her at times, and I think she just has to take a deep breath and realize I'm the biggest, baddest you-know-what out here on this court, and I'm going to impose my will today.
Holly, speaking of biggest, baddest, you-know-what, that's what this Connecticut Big Three looked like. DeWanna Bonner, Alyssa Thomas, and really the entire team stepped up and played hard. But Coach Curt Miller talked about the team having a renewed sense of joy after the All-Star break and having camaraderie. How have you seen that during your time around the team?
Well, it's really interesting. We had their game right after the All-Star break, and Curt Miller said they had kind of come back from the All-Star break and had a team meeting on what do we have to do to get better. And some of the players spoke up and said, there's a lot of us on this team that we're really joyful, funny, happy people, and we need to play with joy. We need to have fun when we're out there playing. You know, I think part of that stems from Alyssa Thomas is so serious, so dedicated, so competitive, and they want, she basically is telling her teammates, I need to know that you're working hard out there. You're not out there smiling and having fun. So they want to have the fun. They want to play with the joy, but doing it in a context that they are busting their I'm not going to say you know what again. I'm saying a lot of you know what's today. But they need to show her that, yeah, we can have fun, we can have joy, but we can also be very locked in while we're playing that way. And I think there's a real balance that they've got to strike there, because AT is a machine, and you know playoff AT is a machine. But Jonquel Jones, Courtney Williams, those are the players that need to be loose and have fun to succeed. And so they've got to meet somewhere in the middle.
Absolutely. Jonquel Jones, the ringleader of the Big Three, last season's MVP. Holly, you are our MVP. Have a great call. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, ladies. And you, too, are some big, bad you-know-whats.
I love being a big bad you-know-what. Alyssa Thomas is one of those. Holly said it. She's the serious one. She is a machine. Almost had a triple-double in Game 1 against the Dallas Wings. 15 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. And Carolyn, before we end things, I'm gonna have a little game for you, all right? It's a play off words, so instead of tip of mind, we're gonna call it tip off mind.
Let's go.
Focusing on the Las Vegas Aces first, obviously a dominant win. So if I were to ask you, Becky Hammon's transformation of the Las Vegas Aces is what?
A royal flush. That's a winning hand in poker.
Ooh, that was quick.
Let's go.
That was quick.
Let's go.
The Sky's dominating win in Game 2 makes you feel blank about Game 3.
Take shelter, because there's a strong wind coming through. And you better take cover.
Watching Brianna Stewart versus Elena Delle in the first round of the playoffs is
magical storm. Let's go.
Because of the Mystics in the Storm?
Hello.
I can't stand you, but I love you at the same time. Connecticut Sun and Las Vegas Aces being the favorites to win it all is
dun dun dun, cliffhanger. Ooh. Hang on, wait for it, because we got great basketball to come.
This is amazing. Okay, I got another one. Now I'm just gonna go off the top of my head.
Oh, here we go.
Candace Parker's leadership is
dominating.
Chelsea Gray's skill set is
mind-blowing.
Jonquel Jones's versatility is.
Ooh.
Oh, I stumped you.
You did. Good. You got me there. But her play is mesmerizing.
Mesmerizing. This is exciting. Any final thoughts going into this next game? Connecticut Sun, Dallas Wings, what are you looking for? What are you hype about? If someone at home is like, why am I going to watch this game? Why?
Well, because, look, the youth is very naive. And you don't know what to expect. And I think Vicki Johnson, Holly Rowe talked about the defensive player that Vicki Johnson was. Can she infuse that into her young team? Not be afraid, go into that environment and make this a good game and take it to Game 3.
And speaking of Game 3, right, Connecticut Sun wanting to prevent that. When you look at this team, It's guards, it's post players, it's shooting, it's speed, it's strength. How have they been able to put all of the pieces together at the right time?
I think Kurt Miller has moved around a lot of pieces and experimented with a lot of things early on. Now he's locked into a rotation. Citing Odyssey Sims as another point guard helps with that rotation. That really helps Jonquel Jones and Alyssa Thomas play together instead of one having to do one thing and the other. Now they can feed off each other, and I think the glue to all of this is DeWanna Big Shot Bonner.
Big shots, she can hit them. X Factor for the Sun.
It's going to be Bonner.
That's the X Factor?
Oh, yeah.
X Factor for Dallas?
I think it's going to be Kayla Thornton. She's got to stay out of foul trouble. She's a stretch four. She's also that utility Swiss Army knife. She's going to get big rebounds. She can make defensive plays. But I think that she's going to be the X factor for the Dallas Wings.
Any anticipation on tempo for this game? Are we going to see a fast one? Are we going to see a slow one? What you got?
Well, I think that if Dallas can control it, play in the half court, get the ball to Tierra McCowan, maybe get Jonquel Jones in some foul trouble, we could be in for a good one.
And Connecticut wants to run, run, run. Enjoy the game on ABC. Thanks for joining us on WNBA Hoop Streams. Presented by Google.